Your attention, please, ladies and gentlemen, President of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko.
Пане та панове, повага до президента України.
Bonjour, bienvenue à...
Good afternoon. Welcome to Chernobyl. It's a beautiful moment on the accidented fourth reactor, and thank you for coming here so numerous at the final Putin of confinement, and you will see several channels of translation.
Le français.
And as you know, the security it's the biggest value for those who construct it. And please look around and see which is the way out and exit of this hall closer to you. And I would like to say that. That defibrillators in this hall, we will not be able to need them. And it's a huge moment to begin this historical ceremony, and I'm happy to welcome the Director General of
Sans plus attendre, je laisse la parole à Xavier Huil.
We will start in the order, and the Director General of Group 1C, Nikolai Kai. And dear friends, and starting this ceremony, we can comment that this ceremony was unique, and it was unique by mobilization of international efforts and the Ukrainian efforts in the Ukrainian authorities in the sense of construction and financing and conception. It was unique in a double sense because it was a conception of with a tight confinement, which will cover the sarcophagus, which was accidented in 1986. It was unique by its measures, as it was the biggest structure of this type, the mobile ark, which was never constructed. And which is weighing 3.5 times as to Rafael, and which could cover the Statue of Liberty. And it was unique by methods and conditions of its construction at 300 meters from the reactor to avoid radiation and to assure total protection for the personnel who was working on the site. And it was a construction site which was unique for those who participated during 7 years of construction at the mountain of this unseen ever construction. And I would like to tell thank you to everyone, so to those who were from big French companies who constituted the Novarka company, and who was presenting this morning to you. And thank you to you, Your Excellency, President of Ukraine, and of the Ukrainian people who invested in this project. And thank you to all engineers for their creativity and strictness and their willingness to implement this pure concentration of innovation as the arch of Chernobyl, and the engineers of Vancy who draw the first drawings 25 years ago, and Bechtel and our colleagues from Concepta, and our colleague, and thank you to 10,000 workers who continued here from the beginning of the works, and all the contractors and suppliers who were working in 30 countries. And it's good an obligation on daily basis who allowed to fulfill the task for Ukrainian authorities and international community to build this exemplary building. And it was a huge adventure in collective sense. And it was a challenge of 100 years. If we start from the beginning, and we will see it as the life programmed for this structure. And it was a sense to repair the tragic consequences of 1986, and which symbolizes also creativity, the entrepreneurial spirit which characterizes the profession of construction, and also characterizes the big companies from this sector in France. And the site of Chernobyl, it was the challenge by its size for our profession. And Mr. President, we are simply happy to thank you to mobilization of everyone, and I thank you all. Thank you. Thank you, Xavier. And he was the director of the orchestra of everyone. And I will give the word to Mr. Nicolas Kai, the chef of Mr. President, Your Excellencies, and Madam. Ladies and gentlemen, in 1986, there was the year of the catastrophe, when I was the student in engineer academy, and I could never imagine that until now I would be responsible for Novarka, where the Vancy and Bouygues, they grouped their efforts, and at this historical day, I have the honor to represent 10,000 people, men and women from 30 different countries who consecrated part of their lives to this fantastic project. And just imagine that we see, and we built it and pushed this metallic, intelligent arch, and which will never have an accident. And the challenge in technology was like that it was never seen in daily work, and we had to challenge our construction methods. 25 million hours of work And until now, we didn't have any single accident of radiology. It's the result of work of everyone, and it's the objective very strict, which we fixed for ourselves. In 1 year, we will deliver a structure which will be sure and exceptional for Ukraine for 100 future years. And I would like to use this ceremony to thank you for realization of this project, Novarka, first of all, and the companies, Vinci and Bouygues, the operational direction and the general direction. And with our suppliers, partners, our constructors, and principal of them, they came here today. Also, the Ukrainian authorities, Chernobyl power plant, the donators, the Bank European, first of all, who all mobilized, and we all gained altogether. We all hoped, we placed the security of Chernobyl above our personal interest, because Ukraine suffered a lot from the catastrophe, and this reparation will be just. And ladies and gentlemen, this project will be for all of us a huge adventure of humans, and this ceremony we will recognize that everyone who took these engagements with their talents, with their competencies, with their energy to solve the problem of several years, and to turn this project into pure success. And I would like to wish you all that we will meet all together at the opening of Novarka. Thank you. And thank you very much, Monsieur. And our next speaker was one of the first who watched this site from the helicopter, and his engagement to make Chernobyl secure never finished. And I would like to present you President of Chernobyl Center Fund, Mr. Blix.
Mr. Kai just told me that at the time when the Chernobyl accident occurred, he was a young engineer, and he has now been in charge of this huge project. At the time of the accident, I was the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency in Vienna. And not long after the accident, I and 2 IAEA experts were in a helicopter over the place where we are now sitting. Our first thoughts were about how the IAEA and its member states could be of help to the Ukraine and to the people who were hit. The next were about ensuring a continuous dissemination of credible information to all, a task that was fortunately facilitated in 1986 by the new policy of glasnost. The third task that began immediately in 1986 was learning. A nuclear accident anywhere is an accident anywhere, was a lesson drawn already in 1986. And the whole world has been able to look for and learn from the myriads of technical, scientific, medical, and social data. We recognize, however, that the burden of the accident has been by far the heaviest on the countries most heavily affected by the fallout, the Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia. 30 years after the accident, pains and costs are still there, but the healing process has come a long way. Moving together the 2 halves of the huge arch and sliding the gigantic shelter into position over the destroyed reactor is like closing a wound, a nuclear wound that belongs to all of us. Let me express our admiration and appreciation to Novarka and all the other big corporations and enterprises, the hundreds of engineers and managers, and the thousands of workers in Ukraine and abroad who have designed and mounted this unique building that is behind me. As chairman of the Chernobyl Shelter Fund from its establishment in 1997, I want to thank all the donor governments, most of them represented here today, and the European Union for their commitment and financial contributions that have allowed the project to proceed to its planned conclusion. Special thanks are due to the G7 group of states that has made sure all through the long journey that the train has been moving. And very special thanks go also to the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development. Intergovernmental institutions are not infrequently criticized as slow or bureaucratic. I'm happy to praise the EBRD for its leadership, President and Vice President for acting throughout the Chernobyl project as a fund manager with competence, absolute integrity, and indeed as itself a single largest contributor to the new safe confinement. I must in particular single out Mr. Mins Novak, who has been the bank's, shall I say, midwife, manager, and engineer from the conception of the project 20 years ago to the delivery. I have seen him displaying inexhaustible energy, good judgment, and endless patience, and I thank him. Lastly, let us all recognize the key role of Ukraine at all levels, from the President through the government administration, including the Office of the Regulator, to the management of the Chernobyl plant, Mr. Gramitkin. Ukraine is a beneficiary, but even more a facilitator, enabler, and implementer of the Chernobyl program. It owns the program long after the new safe confinement is completed and handed over to the Chernobyl operators in 2017. Thank you, and congratulations to all.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Blix, merci beaucoup. And this initiative was taken by G7. I would like to invite the plenipotentiary and extraordinary ambassador of Japan, Mr. Shigeki Sumi.
Petro Poroshenko, the President of Ukraine, and Mr. Suma Chakrabarti, President of European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the Excellency Hans Blix, Chairman of Chernobyl Shelter Fund, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to the organizers of today's event. Today, on behalf of G7 members, I would like to commend all parties concerned on the completion of the sliding of the new safe confinement to cover the reactor 4. As reaffirmed in the Leaders' Declaration of G7 Iseshima Summit that Japan chaired last May, G7 members are committed to achieve and maintain the highest levels of nuclear safety worldwide. G7 took the lead in the establishment of Chernobyl Shelter Fund to finance the construction of the new safe confinement. The G7 members and the European Commission have made substantial financial contribution to the fund since 1997. We, the G7 members, think that the completion of the sliding of the new safe confinement in the 30th year since the catastrophe is a significant achievement to convert Chernobyl site into a stable and environmentally safe condition. We trust commissioning and operation of the facilities will be implemented efficiently and successfully with the institutional and financial support of the government of Ukraine. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Votre Excellence.
Thank you, Your Excellency. As you understood, it was said in this morning, this project could not be possible without financing of European Bank of Reconstruction and Development. I would like to give the floor to its President, Suma Chakrabarti.
President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I have to say the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development is simply very, very proud to have been so closely associated with this historic project. The EBRD accepted the role of the Chernobyl Shelter Fund manager back in 1997, with a full awareness, even then, of the magnitude, the complexity of the task, but also with enthusiasm because of the importance of the project for the people of Ukraine, but for the entire world. And it's been a long, and I should say it sometimes even quite difficult journey. So it's with enormous satisfaction now for the EBRD that this crucial milestone, the sliding of the new safe confinement into its final position, has been achieved. And this outcome, as previous speakers have said, owes a great deal to the dedication and great work indeed, of many people from more than, I think, 30 countries, a genuinely international effort. And I want to pay tribute to some of them. I think to Novaka, to Vinci, to Bouygues, to the subcontractors, to Chernobyl NPP and its project management unit, to the authorities of Ukraine, and also to a huge number of institutions and individual experts who together, yes, collaborating together, have devised solutions to transform this site of the 1986 Chernobyl accident into an environmentally safe system. And I think for the EBRD, we've been proud to have worked with all of those involved in this great endeavor. It's equally a testament to a lasting international solidarity with Ukraine and the commitment to nuclear safety. More than 40 governments, ladies and gentlemen, more than 40 governments have contributed to the Chernobyl Shelter Fund. The EBRD shareholders unanimously approved 715 million euros for the Chernobyl projects from the EBRD's net income. So I want to pay particular tribute also here to Hans Blix, who in many different ways has been associated with this project over the last 30 years, I'd say, Hans, but latterly as the chairman of the CSF Donor Countries Assembly, where he's been absolutely fundamental to raising the funds to make this project happen. But I also, as Hans did, want to pay a great tribute to my dear colleague Vince Novak and to his team. Vince is a team man. He didn't do this alone, but he led this great team in EBRD to make this possible as well. So Vince, a lot of thanks to you and your team from me and everyone else. The old shelter has now disappeared from our site forever, but we're never going to forget the human toll of the 1986 accident. And we owe our efforts today to the victims of that accident. Now, under cover of the new safe confinement, there's of course still a lot of challenging work to be done before it's handed over to the Ukrainian authorities, to the operators in November 2017. That's going to require continued dedication, continued excellence by all the parties. And we at the EBRD, we remain committed to whatever is necessary to help achieve this very, very noble objective. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We saw it this morning through all these speeches that the construction in Chernobyl was an adventure for human, and we see as an image the history of this project. And later we will see a small film about how it was raised. The film about 10 minutes, and we will come back later.
Ukraine organized a competition to attract ideas that would make Chernobyl safe again. The time frame was quite tight. The sarcophagus that had been built around the damaged reactor between May and October 1986 was designed to last 30 years. On 18th June 1993, Confinement Bernard SGE, which became Vinci Construction Grand Projet in 2000, won the competition. Its idea, called Resolution, involved confining the damaged reactor and its sarcophagus before dismantlement. Its bid was the only one that included financing for the project. Over the next 2 years, Confinement Bernard SGE led the Alliance Consortium, which conducted a series of feasibility studies financed by the European Commission. It became clear that an arch-shaped structure was the best confinement option. And that structure would be bigger and more pioneering than anything the world had ever seen. It would weigh more than the Eiffel Tower and could house the Stade de France or the Statue of Liberty, making it the world's largest mobile metal structure. And this mobile arch was pioneering on 2 accounts: its construction method, which prevents exposure to radiation, and its design, which will keep the confinement airtight for 100 years. In November 1997, at the G7's initiative, the Chernobyl Shelter Fund was established. It received donations from around the world and was managed by the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. It has 28 members today. The call for tenders, based on the feasibility studies, began in 2004. It covered the design, construction, and commissioning of an arch-shaped structure to confine the existing sarcophagus and the damaged reactor for subsequent dismantlement. 2 French construction industry leaders, Vinci Construction Grand Projet, the leader, and Bouygues Travaux Publics, teamed up in the Novarka Consortium to take on this challenge. The competition lasted 3 years, and Novarka was finally selected. The contract was signed in Kiev on 17 September 2007. The following month, about 100 engineers started working on the studies in France and Ukraine. They decided to build the enclosure 300 meters from the damaged reactor to reduce exposure to radiation. They also limited overhead work, again to keep radiation exposure to the absolute minimum. The arch was to be assembled on the ground and lifted in phases in the erection area, and the dismantling equipment was to be fitted there before the structure was pushed to its final destination. The Novarka teams moved to the site in 2009 and started cleaning and clearing the erection area in early 2010. In April 2010, they started excavating to lay the concrete beams that would be used to slide the structure into position over the damaged reactor. By February 2012, the first segments had rolled off production lines and been pre-assembled in Italy, and were ready to be loaded onto 18 ships, then 2,500 trucks that carried the 36,000 tons of components to Chernobyl. The arch was erected in 6 phases between November 2012 and October 2014. In April 2014, the team started work on the auxiliary buildings, where crews would remote control the equipment in the arch to dismantle the sarcophagus and damaged reactor once the structure was delivered. In June 2015, work on the electric and ventilation systems began. To prevent corrosion in the arch structure, the air between the outer and inner walls was dried and subjected to mild pressure. This involved processing over 1 million cubic meters of air, or the equivalent of 370 Olympic-sized swimming pools. In November 2015, the first of the 2 overhead cranes that would carry the dismantling equipment was lifted and locked into position over 80 meters above the ground. Lastly, on 14th November 2016, the equipped arch was ready to be pushed into its final position. Work in 2017 will involve adding airtight seals between the arch and the sarcophagus and testing the equipment that will be used for dismantlement. Vinci Construction Grand Projet and Bouygues Travaux Publics engineers have been pooling their expertise since 2007, and over 10,000 Novarca employees from almost 30 countries have been working on this project side by side with contractors and suppliers from around the world to fulfill their mandate from Ukrainian authorities and the international community. The Novarca teams have used huge imagination and innovation to make Chernobyl safe again, because nothing about this construction project was standard. They also worked methodically, relentlessly, and generously. They received constant support from the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, which enlisted donor countries to support this one-of-a-kind project and managed its unprecedented financing. From the customer, Chernobyl nuclear power plant, and from the project manager unit, Bechtel. The arch is now in place, and we can all be proud of this shared success.
Le top, on y va. Allez, bravo les mecs.
President of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko, is invited to take the floor, Mr. President.
Your Excellencies, dear friends, friends of Ukraine, dear guests, dear participants of the event, let me congratulate you with the fact that we are all here present at the absolutely historical event. 30 years ago in Chernobyl, there was the worst in the world technological accident. 30 years ago, tens and thousands of heroes who fought in Chernobyl did whatever possible to protect the world from nuclear danger, nuclear threat. Just in 260 days of their heroic efforts, the team of 90,000 Chernobyl workers erected a sarcophagus, and it was designed just for 30 years to protect Kyiv, Ukraine, and the whole world from nuclear contamination. And in 30 years, we are present here just 100 meters from the fourth block of Chernobyl nuclear power plant, when the historical construction is being completed. It was already mentioned several times that it is for the first time in the world and for the first time in the human history, and it is the biggest, the most huge construction. The facility that is behind me, it was compared with Eiffel Tower and Liberty Statue. It is really a unique facility, 110 meters high, 57 width, 164 meters long. It is the biggest movable construction that was ever built in human history. The coalition of 27 countries raised more than 1,170,000,000 euros together with the Ukraine to construct, to erect this facility. From 40 countries, workers were engaged. I would like also to express my gratitude to the countries of Big Seven, whose excellencies and ambassadors are present here. It is the USA, the Great Britain, France, Japan, Germany, Canada, Italy, and other countries. The greatest role was played by the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, whose president is a great friend of Ukraine. He is present here today with us. But the major role was played by Ukrainians and the representatives of other countries who jointly constructed this unique facility. My special thanks to companies Vinci and BIC, who managed to achieve this result, with this unique result. And today they provide the guarantee for 100 of nuclear safety. Many people didn't believe, but my congratulations, yes, we did that. And let all the world watch today what Ukraine and the whole world can do when they act jointly, how we can protect the world from nuclear contamination and threats. And it would be very good if we could continue this very strong solidarity in the sake of peace. And everybody knows how Ukraine is suffering today. Nobody could imagine that Chernobyl threat wasn't the worst challenge for Ukraine, and Ukraine is now constructing safe confinement in the conditions of military attack from Ukrainian aggression, and we fight in this very, very tough time together with the whole world. I wish the whole world, I wish our allies, and I wish Ukraine to keep this solidarity on, because this solidarity enables us not only to build the best confinements and shelters in the world, but also to build up the fantastic, formidable European country, Ukraine. My best congratulations. I express my gratitude to everybody of you, and glory to Ukraine.
Спасибо, Mr. President. Now to proceed to the awards ceremony, the presidential decree is announced by First Deputy Head of the Administration of the President of Ukraine, Mr. Vitaly Kovalchuk.
Указом Президента України за значний особистий внесок у подолання наслідків Чорнобильської катастрофи, зразкове виконання службових обов'язків та високий професіоналізм виявлені під час спорудження нового безпечного конфайнменту «Аркі» Державного спеціалізованого підприємства Чорнобильська АЕС нагороджено орденом за заслуги 3-го ступеня Дмитришина Анатолія Федоровича, керівника проєкту акціонерного товариства «Укренергомонтаж». Дода Лоріна, директора групи управління проєкту «План здійснення заходів на об'єкті укриття» у 2006-2014 роках. Каштанова Володимира Олександровича, головного інженера проєкту «План здійснення заходів на об'єкті укриття». Кая Ніколя, директора спільного підприємства «Новарка». Кондратенка Сергія Олександровича, заступника технічного директора по об'єкту укриття. Микитася Віктора Григоровича, посмертно, голову наглядової ради акціонерного товариства «Укренергомонтаж» у 2008-2016 роках. Нагороду отримує син Микитась Максим Вікторович. Солоненка Олега Петровича, начальника зміни цеху радіаційної безпеки.
The head of the radiation safety, the chief of that department of radiation safety. Mr. Havros Victor, the chief of the construction service department. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes. Hinka Ronald, the director on the projects on the 2014-2015 managerial service on the project, of the project. Klepikov Sergei, the deputy head of the Department of our new safety confinement department activity. Sergei Krasnikov, the head of the shift of the exploitation of the objects of shelter and providing the new construction of the new safety confinement. Andrew Sarin, the chief engineer of the projects on upgrading the safety. And President of Ukraine, Mr. Petro Poroshenko, signed these orders.
Est-ce que je peux appeler les...
On va faire une photo puisque Monsieur le Président Poroshenko l'a...
We would like to take pictures because Mr. President of Ukraine, Peter Poroshenko, took this principle to take the pictures and Sir Suma Sakrabati, Igor Gramotkin.
Thank you.
Un de Novarka. Ah. Novarka, non, tu n'as pas appelé? Donc, David, Joseph, Marwan.
Les employés Novarka sur la scène, allez.
Employees of Novarka, please come to the stage to take the picture. Not all of you, not all of you. And thank you. We will stop here. And please come to the second range. If not, the stage will break down. And Madam Ambassador, please come. And fantastic. Thank you to everyone who was assisted to this ceremony of putting into place of a final confinement. Thank you for your participation.